I'm glad people showed up. uh, welcome. Uh, there'll be a lot of fish in this talk, as you can see. Um, yes, shall we start? uh, I will be talking to you about fish today, of course, but also my personal journey. If you don't know me, my name is Nina. I am a technical artist at Sumo Leamington. So I've been in the industry for about 2 years now. First, I worked at DR Studios, now Sumo Leamington, almost a year. So my first SDC as well. I'm very excited to be here. And the fish I will explain soon, I promise. But first, I wanted a little detour into what is technical art, because I know everybody asks this and nobody kind of knows the answer. So a technical artist is kind of expected to be good at everything. We do anything between kind of code and art. So shaders, optimizations, tools, pipelines, VFX, lighting as well is something I touch on a lot in my work. But anything under the sun between code and art, we pretty much have to know. It's also a very kind of pipeline-focused role in that you have to understand how to communicate with the team and basically know how to fix challenges that are quite difficult. Anything that goes wrong, it's kind of on you to check and fix. So managing the team and managing fires is really important. So it's kind of like a support role, right? Like in Overwatch, you have your most important healer. Like that's a technical artist, basically. So the kind of stuff I do, this is some of my personal work. So I made some jellyfish, you can see, and some fish. These are using Niagara. So they have like world position offset shaders and rock shaders, and I've done a lot more than this, but these are just a few cool examples I pulled out of my portfolio. And it's a lot of math, but it's also really fun. It's very artistic kind of discipline. So an example of a graph I typically make, this is not super complex, but this is the jellyfish shader that was on the other slide. So you have all the whole mesh is a single straight line for the tentacles, and all of the movement is controlled via the world position shaders, which is all of those parts here kind of together. So it's really fun to make these. So these are some of my works I've done. Jellyfish Shrine, the Koi Pond, and the Mill House. I've done a bunch of others, and I like to do personal work in my spare time. Just it's so much fun. I'm always making more because I'm just addicted to art, honestly. But let's go back. How did I end up here? How did I become a tech artist? What's with this fish thing? Fun fact, you could not convince me to talk in front of one person, let alone all of you. There's a lot of you here. About 5 years ago, I was incredibly shy and incredibly kind of soft-spoken, and I wouldn't smile at all for like the first 10 years of my life. I just wouldn't talk to anyone. It was really weird, and nobody could understand why. Just talking and making friends and everything was really, really difficult for me. So back in 2018, I started university. I studied at themself. I kind of always loved art. I always drew it as it was kind of my escape. So I knew I wanted to do this for a long time. But I also discovered my love for fish back then. So I got a fish tank and I instantly became obsessed. I had 6 little black skirt tetras and I absolutely loved them, and I still have that fish tank. It's great. But something was missing for sure. So I could not figure out how to make friends. I could not speak. noises are really difficult for me. They always hurt my ears. That's why I wear headphones all the time. I try to kind of mask it and pretend it's not hurting me, but it really is. And uh, I might escape parties really early sometimes, but I can't. The noises in my ears kind of ring. It really hurts. Any change of plans, any change of routine, holidays stress me out. So anytime at work something changes immediately, I'm like, pain. I did not fit in for a very, very long time. I didn't even speak until I was like 2 years old, and it's much later than all my other siblings. And uh, fun story, well, not so fun. Uh, I ended up failing a class because I couldn't ask the teacher for help at all. It was a computer science class at my A levels. I was 18, and um, the class required quite a social dynamic in that you had to ask either other students for help or the teacher for help. And I was so deadly afraid of it that I was just like, no, I can't do it. And I ended up crying for the exam. It was terrible. But so that really kind of prompted me to think about, like, hey, maybe my brain is not the same as everybody else's. So I researched. August 2018, I kind of spent like thinking about this. And after I enrolled to university, I officially got my autism diagnosis from my DMU team. It was fully funded by the DSU, which I'm really grateful for. DSU is the Disabled Students Allowance. So I was diagnosed with Asperger's slash autism then. It was it's actually classed as autism now altogether because Asperger is quite an outdated term. That's why I say autism. But it's I'm really grateful for the fact that I was able to get that diagnosis very quickly. It's a really hard diagnosis to get because it takes years on the waiting list. So having that support from the university really helped me grow. And I had a lovely mentor for the 3 years at my uni who helped me kind of be less shy and be more open. Uh, so it explained so much, but there was still a long road ahead of me. I kind of understood for the first time in my life the things I needed to work on. I could stop feeling guilty about the things that I was bad at. I really needed to ask how to learn how to ask for help. It was the teachers or the peers or industry professionals. I very, very slowly built up that courage to talk to people, as well as attempting to make friends with people who understood me. We had a lovely social group every Wednesday at lunchtime. It was for autistic students at the university, and I made some great friends there. Finally, for the first time in my life, I kind of felt like I was part of something and I was like living, really. And I could like stop hiding who I was. It was fantastic. But it took a good 3 years for me to get there. And of course, COVID didn't help because it shut everything down. But if second year was much better, and then third year was even better. Oh, yeah, I found a kind of a yeah, I found a cheat code to help me cope. So it was always difficult for me to kind of function, as you can tell, with people. So if your words can't communicate with people, if all your communication fails, what do you do? So I grew up doing a lot of art for this reason. It's a way to express yourself in a different way than language. I knew that if I drew something, I was able to show this to someone, and we could discuss this, and we could share something, and maybe if I drew a fish, I could talk to you about a fish. So I use this trick a lot. I've been drawing since I was like 9 years old. So um, it's just drawing a fish, showing someone a fish. Perfect. Um, so what about all the fish? Uh, why the fish obsession? So autistic people have very, very strong special interests. It's something we focus and fixate around animals or highly specific objects. So typically, autistic people have, for example, trains or cars or um, anything like that. That's kind of the typical norm. A lot of women fixate around animals because it's more socially acceptable. And that's kind of the reason why we don't get diagnosed as quickly as male autistic people, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I've always related more to animals anyway. Um, they're quieter than people. They don't make as much noise. I understand them much better. So I started adding fish to my work because I loved them so much. I could kind of combine my passion for art and kind of escaping with making pretty stuff with the thing I love, which is the fish. And then I could also put like an original twist on the work I was doing and the portfolio I was making, right? So a lot of portfolios on ArtStation have kind of the same generic things on them. I'm not calling anyone out, but like fire hydrants and houses with grass and stuff, yeah, and guns. It's all kind of the same thing. So I think it really helps when you have something that's kind of your own ideas and kind of things you like. It does make you more motivated to make those things as well. And as well, if companies see that and they see, oh, we like this, but we can't tell you because that's under NDA. We can hire you because you like making these things. Uh, so that's great, right? I just wanted to show more of my true self. Like, what better way than adding fish to everything? It's the perfect solution. Fun fact about betta fish. This is betta fish. They have labyrinth organs that they can breathe from the surface, so they can gulp air, which is very cool. Yes. uh, Little note. Why the direction of technical art though? Um, it's kind of because I had the previous experience of 4 years. You know how I mentioned I failed that computer science class, yeah. Um, I was actually pretty good about it. It was just the social aspect that was really difficult for me that I couldn't grasp. But I'm pretty good at coding, and mm, together with the artistic stuff, it was like the perfect combination of things. And as well, the fish are like the perfect technical art thing. So it all comes back to fish in the end. Uh, so I started to add more. You may notice this is a lot of fish in here. Uh, so the Gothic house and the captain's table, up to the coral tunnel, that was kind of my university work. So I did a massive aquarium for my final project at uni. And then after I graduated, I just made more fish-based work. So I made a koi pond and jellyfish shrine, and I've since also added a betta fish project, which is really fun. Um, so what do I want to say? It's not really a job for me. I say that it's a job. I treat it like a job, but it's really much more fun than that. I really do enjoy my work every day. It's so much fun. Um, I want people to smile when they see it, when they see the stuff I make and the stuff I contribute to, even on the work projects that I work on. I think it's amazing to contribute to such a huge part of the industry and uh, put my name on something that's gonna stay for a very long time. Um, I want people to see that it's like worth being here. It's worth making cool art so it stays there. It's gonna outlive us, honestly. The art is going to be there way longer than us, probably. So I want people to smile when they see it. I want people to be happy. It's. I don't want to make art that kind of just is sad, really. Um, Most importantly, I want to live my life according to my true self, because I spent so many years like not being able to do that, and I spent most of my childhood just suffering. So it's much better that I can be who I am now, and be my kind of true self. Uh, this project I wanted to poke at specifically. Uh, I Fun story, not so fun story. Um, so I attempted to move out from my house with my parents, and I tried to get a flat. This was back in 2021. But as soon as I moved there, I realized I was not coping well, and it was just not going well, and I had pretty bad panic attacks and stuff like that for a couple weeks straight, and I realized I'm not ready. Um, and I went back home, and I went back on medication. Like, it was pretty bad. But I made this right after, and it was kind of a reflection of my mind at the time that I needed some kind of calm space to meditate in. And this kind of provided that project to work on, that I was like, okay, I need a koi pond with like chill fish, and I need to look at it every day. And I ended up making this in like 3 months, and it was, I feel like it kind of shows in the final artwork more. If you put a story behind it, um, it it it's a great thing to have. So even in professional work, it's at its core, it's making people happy, right? It's contributing something bigger than myself, and I am so incredibly lucky and thrilled to be a part of this industry. Um, it is so much fun. I can't explain it enough. So, key takeaways. Uh, where I ended up, I could hide and pretend to be not autistic. I could hide to be not disabled. But I'd much rather embrace it. I'm not afraid to hide who I am anymore. You can see the fish, yeah. Um, uh, I I'm honestly, I'm really good at hiding it even. I could hide that I'm like fidgety, and I could hide that I don't really want to talk, and like noises hurt me, but I don't want to do that anymore, because it's tiring. It's masking the person who I am, and it's just exhausting, and I don't want to pretend to be normal. I want to be exactly the person I am, and I want to contribute to this world in a really, really good way. Um, what can you do in your work? Why did I ramble for half an hour? um, I think people underestimate that art is actually a form of communication that's really, really valuable. Um, Adding fish to my work helped me express myself, but I want you to think like, what can you do to express yourself, and what can you do to communicate in your work? What's your fish? That's the question. um, my work shows a story of someone who overcame the struggles and created the things they love, and I continue to do that, and I continue to evolve with that idea. I'm contributing to the world in a positive way, and really think about what you're doing, and like what's it adding to the world. I think it's important to think about that when we make such big productions and contribute to the world in such a huge way. And as my final words, I will leave you with, please add more fish. Thank you. questions.
Hello, Nina.
Hello.
So I have a question. You explore the art part of the work, the codes, and did you try to do animation? Because it's also a good challenge for fish.
Yes, I did. When I was kind of exploring the game art side of things and art, when I was a kid, it did end up making a bunch of small animations, but I feel it's a bit tedious for me. I very much like the technical art part where you kind of combine kind of knowledge from different disciplines and make something that's shiny and cool. And yeah, animation to me was a bit slow, honestly. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Hey,
Hi.
great talk.
Thank you.
So when you started working at a studio, was it easy or hard to get like your coworkers and especially like your managers to like accommodate your autism and not like expect the same from you than like neurotypicals?
It's a great question. Yeah, every time I join a new job, I always go to my manager or someone, tell them, hey, these are my needs. This is what I need. But I even go back in the interview, I mention it because it tends to weed out the companies who would not be accepting of it. I don't want to work for an employer who would not treat me right and like accept who I am. It would just be really bad all around. But it leads to some really nice conversations with people. I had some really great interviews where we just talked about fish for half an hour. It was great. Um, uh, yeah, it's as well as speaking about it at the very beginning, it's also important. Like, if I have extra needs, I will speak about it. Later down the line, I always mention to my manager, "Hey, can you give me more backlogs of tasks because I've run out and it gets me anxious." But yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes, thanks.
Hello.
Hi, really great talk, thank you. I was wondering how do you approach when you're sort of in a workplace where you're expected to make things that aren't part of that special interest, how you can like harness the enthusiasm that you have for the thing that you really, really care about, but being made to do something that's maybe not quite so interesting. Yeah, to you
Yeah,
personally.
I totally get that. I do make a lot of fish jokes at work. I'm glad my coworkers put up with that. I'm very happy. But I do work on a lot of stuff that is not fish, surprisingly. I kind of it kind of goes back to like, oh, what you like doing, right? Um, putting I like making things because it's putting it's putting positive things into the world. So I kind of see it in that way that I'm like, I'm still doing art, I'm still doing really cool things, and it's having a positive impact. So I really enjoy it anyways. And then I occasionally tell people to add more fish. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, amazing
Hi.
talk. I
Thank you.
really relate to a lot of stuff that you said. What I want to ask is, after work, how do you keep adding fuel like to your stuff, to the stuff you are passionate about? Like, how do you maintain the balance of the creativity that you pour yourself into work and to your personal projects?
Yeah, that's really, really important. It's it's hard to not burn yourself out, honestly, but I really enjoy what I do, so I do it in kind of slow chunks because I know I will get exhausted quicker than the average person. So I end up kind of time chunking it. So I have after work I'm done. I'm not doing anything. It's too exhausting. But on weekends I do a few hours here and there. Basically, you just have to pace yourself and know that like you can't work at full speed anymore, because you do have a full-time job that's very creative, right? So you have to find time where you're not exhausted, but also kind of work with uh, what your body is feeling. And if it's too tired, then whatever, I'm gonna leave it for next time, right? Just being very gracious with yourself, and understanding that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
great talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you talked a bit about like the importance of like creating something that makes people smile and has a positive impact on people. That resonates with me a lot. Obviously, you know, we've been working on a lot of stuff over the last few months, like behind the scenes, and I don't want to speak for our whole team, but I you know, everything that you create, you know, I think it makes us smile, and like it's awesome to see the work that you do. But obviously now
Thank you.
with Stampede, it's a thing. We've announced it, and now
Yes.
the world can see some of the stuff that you've seen. So, what was that feeling like seeing people react to the creations, like like the trailer or screenshots, like, and some of the stuff that you've worked on? Was it kind of what you expected in terms of how you felt when those reactions started to come in?
Honestly, I was very worried. As you should be. The previous game I worked on didn't do very well, so I was kind of expecting the worst. But I was very pleasantly surprised. It was a lot of positive feedback, and of course, the people screamed for fish. So great all around. Yeah, it was amazing to see kind of the work of the whole team kind of out there for the first time. It was so much fun to watch, honestly, and the work you did, Chris, as well was great.
Thank you again for the talk.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Nina. Lovely talk. I have a question about artistic reference gathering, and with respect to like access and maybe these are too intense experiences for someone with autism, but have you been scuba diving or snorkeling to see shoals of fish in like the fish in their environment?
I want to someday. I've just not been able to, but I've been to many aquariums and many fish shops to gather references. So yeah, I gather. I don't like trips and I don't like going places, but I tried. If there's fish involved, I might be convinced. So it's always good. Cool. Yeah.
Thanks for the talk. It's very
Yeah.
good. Just in terms of tech art, because it's such a problem-solving role,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever have times where someone requests something that's like completely, I've never done this before? Like, what is your process of like, right, I don't know how to do this? Do you like, is it like straight on Google, or do you have like
Oh.
people you go to in work or outside of work, or what's your like
All the
process?
time. I'm constantly asked to make new stuff that I've never done before, because tech art just falls onto the umbrella that you kind of like do everything else that the team doesn't want to do, which is a good thing. You learn a lot of new stuff, right? Like when I joined on Stampede, I was completely new to Unity, and I had to learn it in like about 3 weeks, and then I had to do tech art in it, so that was fun. But I usually try to kind of find information on it myself and extrapolate from like different sources. I have great coworkers who I can ask any questions, and they help a lot. So usually coworkers, and then Google, of course. I also have wonderful communities of kind of game dev people that I can always ask questions. So I do recommend hopping on some Discords and stuff for tech art or environment art people. They're always a great help as well.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks so much for your talk. might be a bit unrelated, but I was wondering, like, what kind of, if you have any fish currently, because you mentioned betta fish earlier.
Oh, I'm very happy to that you asked. Yes, so I have 2 fish tanks at the moment. So I have one fish tank with a betta fish. She's called Millie Second. Of course, it's tech art related. She's wonderful. She's a little koi betta fish. And then my second fish tank, I have another betta fish called Vertex. He's a blue half moon. And I also have in that fish tank 2 nugget snails and 12 rasbora fish and some guppies as well. And they're breeding like crazy. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, they're behind me in meetings constantly. So all my coworkers see them. It's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more?
Thanks. Yeah, great talk. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you worked from home.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that easier with autism?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So I don't think I would have been able to cope if COVID hadn't happened, honestly, because I get really exhausted around people. Like even yesterday, I had to go back to my hotel for a bit because I was just like, oh my God, there's too many people. I need to like rest even for like 15 minutes. So back at uni, I had a schedule where I would like a deal with the lectures that I would like come in for all the necessary sessions and then I would skip all the non-necessary ones. And I'm glad they understood that. And I had Wednesdays off as well, so I would love to have like an office for like maybe 1 or 2 days a week, but I just can't handle more than that, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Any more? There's always more.
Hello, it was a
Hi.
great talk,
Thank you.
and thank you for sharing. I'm also interested in knowing the projects that you made, like the pond and the other ones that you've done in Unreal. Are they like apart from the art available on probably on the art station for that? Are the projects themselves also open source?
No, so a lot of them were made with student software or indie software, so I can't share them, unfortunately. But I do have a lot of breakdowns. A lot of my shader graphs and things like that are on the ArtStation projects themselves. I do have a series of blogs as well, which I have a bit more explanation on as well. I hope that's enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, Nina.
Hi.
Really nice talk.
Thank you.
What's your favourite video game fish?
Ooh, now that's a good question. I'm gonna say the obvious, but I do like the Abzu fish. There's a lot of good fish in there. I played that. I loved it so much. Minecraft axolotls are also up there. Fantastic. We have put our some fish into our game as well, so those are good fish. But yeah, I hope that answers. Sweet. Guessing that's it? Yeah.